Morning, everybody. Monday. Well, the UN, they got stupid. I don't know whenever the UN's been a good idea anyway. The United States should never have gotten involved with that nonsense. UN. Anyway, I'm not gonna get on here and get a bunch of. I'm not gonna get political per se, you know. But a lot of this stuff in the world that's going on is directly connected with biblical prophecy, so therefore we have to kind of keep abreast of what is going on the world stage, right? So they're trying to force that two-state solution in Israel. Now, I had a two-part video a while back talking about how the people that call themselves Palestinians are fake. They're not real Palestinians. They were a band of homeless Arabs, and they went from nation to nation, Muslim nation to Muslim nation, and they got kicked out of all of them. And then they went and they sat down in Israel, and they said, "We're not moving," you know. And that is the reason why all of these Muslim countries support them, is because they don't want them in their country. They don't want them in their country. That's the reason why all those other Muslim countries support their cause. You see? Do you understand? If you're young, you need to think about this. Anyway, Israel was a land that God had paved a way. He had an angel actually walk through and clear out the land for him, because they went in to spy out the land, and they came back and they said, they had giants there in Palestine. The land is the physical land used to be called Palestine a long time ago. Doesn't have anything to do with the clowns that are there now. Nothing to do with that, because those are Arabs. Those are not Palestinian people. The Lord had an angel go in and clear out the land of all Palestinians long ago, thousands of years ago. And Jacob went in and with the people, and they founded Israel, right? God said, "Go into this land, populate it. This is the land I'm giving to you." So anyway, the UN with France and a bunch of other countries, they're like, "We need a peaceful two-state solution, blah blah blah." I'm sorry guys, but that land is already spoken for. I'm not really sorry. I'm just, thinking that people just need to get real with this. I tell you, I'm pretty mellow and laid back these days. I take my Christian walk seriously. But when I was younger, I'm going to tell you something, and you can believe it or not. I met with Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, Benjamin Netanyahu. I met with him shortly. Went up to the man. We shook hands. And I told him, I said, why haven't you raised that mosque off of the Temple Mount yet? I said, 67, you guys had control. Then you turn around and you made a blunder there, given access to the Muslims. And now look, you know, he was surrounded by a bunch of guys in suits. He was wearing a suit himself, but all the other guys in suits, they were obviously, his security detail, they all had micro Uzis. But he smiled at me when I said, why haven't you raised that mosque off of that Temple Mount yet? And and you got all of these Jews over there that they're getting ready for the third temple, right? But I sent them a message here about, 4 years ago now, and I said, look, if you're just going to sit on your hands, it will never happen. If you're just going to sit on your hands and do nothing, you will never have a temple on the mount. That's what I told them. Of course, God has other plans. I could have been one of those plans for me to instigate something with them. They started getting more proactive after that, it seemed like. People here and there going up and praying near the Temple Mount and then eventually on the Temple Mount. And, I'm not trying to take credit for that. But I told them at that Temple Institute, I said, look, you can't sit on your hands and do nothing. I told them, I said, you can't be a bunch of cowards. You gotta push forward. If you want that, then you gotta take it. You gotta go get it. Nobody's gonna hand it to you. The Muslims see any kind of kindness as weakness. So don't treat them kind. Just go up and take it. Take it. That's what you got to do with those types of people. You just got to go ahead and show them who's boss, because they don't understand anything else. If I had been in control of Israel, the mosque would have been raised a long time ago, and I would have wiped out Hamas and all the rest of them around the area. I'm not a Jew. I'm a Christian. Jews need Jesus. They need to come to Jesus. I don't need to be a Jew. The Jews need to be Christians. Christians have something that the Jews don't have. They have salvation through Jesus Christ, who was the Messiah. Right? He came. He already came. We know, and I'm telling you, Jews and Muslims are extremely hard to convert. Extremely hard to convert. But they do convert. Sometimes they convert by an act of God. Sometimes they convert through like a mass experience of something. There was a situation in the Middle East where a bunch of Muslims converted almost immediately to Christianity because there was a divine intervention of Jesus. These guys were pursuing some Christians, and a big storm came up, a sandstorm came up, and this Muslim guy, he was a Christian now, he says that the face of Jesus appeared in the wind and sand. It formed out of the wind and the sand and the sandstorm, and it spoke to all of those Muslims that were after those Christians. And it said, "Why do you continue to persecute my people? Stop." Did they all stop? Did they all immediately converted to being Christians? They all immediately said, "You know what? We're on the wrong path. We need to get on the right path." There you go. See, sometimes it's a supernatural intervention that is the only way that someone can be converted. Muslims and Jews are the hardest to convert. A lot of times it takes a supernatural intervention. This is what we see in the end of the Bible. You know, at the end of the Great Tribulation, 2/3 of the Jews are dead. They're gone. They wouldn't listen. 1/3 came to Jesus. Hey, 33% is better than none. Okay? Now, I'm going to harp on this again because it needs to be said, because I see this all the time online. People constantly just fawning over Jews. Like, you know, they're worshiping them or something. You know, I support the Jews, I support the Jews, and I'm with Israel, and blah, blah, blah. You know, I know that Old Testament statement by God says those who bless Israel will be blessed, those who curse Israel will be cursed. I'm not saying that you should curse Israel. I'm just saying that you should do not treat Jews as if they are perfect and can do no wrong. Do not treat them that way. You have Jesus. If you're a Christian, you have something that they don't have. They need you. You don't need them. They need you to talk to them about Jesus. They need Jesus. You need to evangelize to them. A lot of them will spit at you and say you're following a false god and blah 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 blah. You know, because they don't understand. They've been lied to for over 2,000 years. You know, think about the Democrats in the United States. Lie, 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 and all these people that have believed them and living in ghettos, and they're not getting anywhere in life, but yet every 4 years, here come the Democrats for photo opportunities to say how much they're doing for, you know, the people living in the ghettos, right? And also Jews vote for Democrats in the United States. How that is, I have no clue. I don't know why they would do that. I just said I was not going to get political, right? I forgot. Okay, sorry. But we will get back to the Jews, you know, and Christians. Look, you got to understand, Jews do not have salvation without Jesus. They're no better. They're not better. Okay, I'm running out of time. Only got about a minute or so here. The chosen people, and I have told this to people before on this channel. I talked about this before. Galatians 3. Read it. Read it and understand. There is neither Jew nor Gentile, but one in Jesus Christ. There's only one people. There's not two separate peoples. If you are under Jesus' mantle, you are one people. Judaism, Jews are not another race. They are not another race. Judaism is a religion. It's a religion. Jesus was not a Jew. Jesus is God, and he, way back when Abraham was still around, he selected this group of people that was there, and he said, I'm going to teach you my ways. And yet they have been reprobate with Jesus for thousands of years. But, you know, he's still going to give them a chance with Jacob's trouble. Jacob's trouble's coming up real soon. He's going to give them another chance. I mean, Christians are already there. We already have Jesus. We're already under Jesus' mantle. We already have everlasting life past this life. Jews don't. They don't. Doesn't matter how many chickens they slaughter. They do mass slaughtering of chickens in New York City. Jews do. If you don't believe me, research it. Okay? They think that atones for their sin. They're stuck in 2,000 years ago. Because they refused to believe that Jesus came, and they missed it. And they refused to teach that, you know, the rabbis, they refused to acknowledge that they made a mistake. And rather than owning up to it, they have sent people to hell for 2,000 years. That's not good, man. That is not good. You know. They have caused people to go to hell for 2,000 years. You know, wake up. So people that keep fawning over Jews and, oh, I'm a better Christian now because I'm rubbing elbows with my Jew friend. You know, no, spend some time talking to them about Jesus. Bring them into the sheep's fold, right? Bring them in. Don't just act like they're better than you. It's sickening to watch some of these people lauding over, oh, they're the chosen people, the chosen people. No, Christians are the chosen people because they have Jesus. And any Gentile and any Jew that goes to Jesus is part of the chosen people. It doesn't matter. There's no more Jew or Gentile. Galatians 3. Understand. No more Jew or Gentile. There's no Messianic Jew. Get rid of that title. You're a Christian. If you believe in Jesus, you're a Christian. You're a Christian. Stop trying to act like you're better than other people. All equal under Jesus. That's right. Till we get to the kingdom of heaven, and then he will sort everybody out. Kings and priests, whatnot. But that's for Jesus to do. That's not for us to act like we're better than somebody else here on earth. You know? And don't put other people on pedestals. Angels told that to apostles in the past. No, do it not, because I am a servant also. Like, you know, saying, okay, you know, I'm no better than you. As a matter of fact, in the kingdom of God, we are actually higher in rank than the angels. The saints are higher in rank than the angels. Okay? Anyway. Let you go with this one. Come back in another one. See you there.